Yo, we got some big decisions ahead of us. The developers of Marvel Snap Team Second Dinner, they just dropped some big news about series. Now, we used to call these pools, and essentially they're just the collection of cards that you can get depending on your collection level. So once you complete pool 1 or series 1, you can get to series 2, pool 2. But now they've added series 4 and 5. And these have some epic cards in them. So what I've decided to do is I've got every card from series 5. There are currently 6 total, and I'm going to rank them in order of my personal priority list, because these cards are going to cost tokens, which is a new currency that you can spend to acquire cards that you don't currently own. And these series 5 cards cost a lot. They're 6,000 tokens. That's a big chunk of change. And we don't quite know exactly how many tokens you acquire at any given time. But my understanding is that this is a premium currency, so you really got to save up for it. And you only have a 0.25% chance of seeing these cards in your chest. Ultra super rare. You might as well not bank on it and just save your tokens for these cards. And in terms of them showing up in the shop, if you have a full collection, if you've collected all of the cards thus far through Series 3, then you're going to actually have a 31% chance of seeing one of these 6, which is actually pretty healthy. I think that's a pretty easy way to find these cards. What I don't necessarily love is that it's really rare for new players to find these cards, which is going to be really hard to kind of catch up, especially if they're meta. And a few of these are pretty meta defining in my opinion. So we'll see how that plays out. But that 0.25% chance does start anytime you reach Series 3, which starts at collection level 464. So there is that off chance that you get that ultra rare card and you get super stoked and it's a great time. And any cards moving forward, any new cards that they add to the game, they're going to be put into Series 5. Now, I don't have 100% confirmation if that's immediately. I believe for the Season Pass card, we still will have to probably wait that 8-week threshold until it's released into Series 5. But they're going to be releasing new cards every week, guys, starting December. So get fired up. We got new cards every week. We got new locations every week. We got custom cards every week. I'm going to be having new card reviews every week. That's why you got to snap subscribe, guys. You got to snap that button. All right. And just before we get into my personal priority list, right? This is a list based on what I think is going to be the most fun, what I'm going to save my resources for. It's not which card is better. But I do at the end have a meta tier list where I kind of think these cards will fall in their playability, strength, and all that good stuff. So stay tuned for that. That'll be at the end. Let's get into my top 6, my Series 5 priority list. Let's go. All right, starting up at number 6 is Bast. So on reveal, set the power of all cards in your hand to 3. Now, I want to make very clear right off the hop, I do not think just because this card is number 6 that this is a trash card. I am super stoked about this card. There's a lot of synergy here. It's not even, some of them I'm missing here. Like I was even thinking Deadpool would be an epic one just to get that +2 power. Why not? But then you have Iron Man. You get Iron Man to 3 and then you play Iron Man. That's a 5/6 by default and then it doubles everything else. Adam Warlock could actually be relevant because you play Bast on 1 and then Adam Warlock on 2 and he can actually hold his own to draw you cards. Draw might actually be viable because of Bast in this combination. And then you got Cerebro buffing up all of those cards that you're going to play later on that have 3 power. So there's a lot of synergy. And I think the best part, the most attractive part of this card is that it only costs 1. And anytime something costs 1, it usually finds a way to jump in the meta. So look out for Bast. But the reason it's number 6 for me is only because everything after this is too exciting. So it's tough to pick. Okay, number 5, probably controversial, but we got Super Skrull. Now, I'm not too stoked on this card in terms of its meta potential, its strength overall, but it does look really fun, and I think it's going to make for some really funny moments. So he's a 4/2 ongoing, has the ongoing effects of all enemy cards. So that is insane if you're playing against an ongoing deck, and quite frankly, I need that yesterday because I can't stop seeing armor, destroy decks, all these crazy things with all the ongoing cards. But I was thinking of some combinations with this guy, and I think the most obvious one is Mr. Negative to flip him from a 4/2 to a 2/4 because then he has a decent stat line, and even if you just get 1 or 2 ongoing effects from your opponent's side of the board, it's going to be value. Then you could also maybe combine him with Onslaught. I don't know, it would really heavily depend. This card is totally dependent on what your opponent is playing, but if they are running a Devil Dino, they are doing any kind of shenanigans, even with Wong or something like that, you're probably going to find value. And And then Onslaught could just double that value, and that might work out. Even like Mr. Fantastic, all of a sudden you're getting +4 to other locations, right? And then Mystique can copy Super Skrull, so now you have 2 doubling of all their ongoing effects. It's going to be so discouraging for them to want to play cards. I also think he might be better played at turn 6 to not show your hand and just be a counter, a tech counter. But again, you kind of have to just hold on to him in your hand until you see those ongoing cards played, because if you play him too early and hope they play ongoing cards, it might not work out. So I don't know how I feel about him from a strength standpoint, but he looks really fun. I can't wait to try him out. Okay, number 4, we have Valkyrie. On reveal, set all cards at this location to 3 power. She is a 5 cost, 3 power herself. So this is like, this might be the most annoying card to be played against, because you've been setting up all these high power things, you're really fired up about it, and then Valkyrie drops on 5 and it just decimates that location for you. And that can just feel really bad. And also really fun if you pull it off. It's kind of like the Professor X feeling of when you X a location and you win it, you feel good. But if you ever get Professor X'd, it sucks. So in my opinion, she works better as a control card to try and reduce the power of your opponent's cards. Yes, we can use it to set our cards to 3 power. So if I'm running a bunch of low power things, they can get buffed. Or even better yet, we got another Cerebro option, right? We can get Cerebro up to 3, and then we run a Cerebro 3 deck, which actually benefits Valkyrie. So they're like a match made in heaven right now. And then you can even do it with Iron Man. It's super similar to Bast actually, except it has the counter ability, right? You're not just affecting your own cards, you're affecting your opponents. And I think that's where she shines the most. So could you imagine you decimate your opponent's side of the board, all 3 power. They already played 4 cards there. So they decide to stack power elsewhere. But then you Arnim Zola Valkyrie, and she gets copied at 2 other locations, and now all their cards have 3 power. Now that could backfire on you, because that's like 12 power if they got 4 cards there, and you might not have enough to beat that. But I think it'd be really funny. And you know I'm going to try it. And then Dr. Octopus, probably one of the most controversial cards on my channel. He could have good value because you could play Dr. Ock, pull all of their big payoff cards to a location, and then absolutely level off their power totals with Valkyrie. So I think she has a lot of potential strength-wise running in control decks, but I'm just a little bit worried that she might be really annoying, but I am definitely going to try her out. All right, you probably didn't see this one coming because I think it's everyone's most excited, anticipated card. And guys, don't get me wrong, I'm fired up for this guy. It is Thanos. Finally, he's joining the game. Everyone's asking me, when's this guy coming? When can I play him? I just saw him in my game. How is that possible? Well, he's been in the game since beta, since the beginning of time. Thanos has been chilling in his space throne. But the thing is, you could only get him from random effects, but now you can collect him. And he's got all his stone buddies here, and that's his whole effect, right? At the start of the game, shuffle the 6 Infinity Stones into your deck. He's a 6 cost, 8 power. This flavor-wise is super fun. I think a lot of people wanted like the balance, like snap, half of something happens, and that would be thematically very cool. But I think this is also just super fun because it's a deck builder. You build Thanos decks when you bring this to the table, because if you're not, then why are you bringing him? He's shoving 6 cards into your deck. Now your draw is so unreliable. But there's a lot of conditions here, and I just can't help but think he's going to end up weak, or maybe a meme deck, or just really fun in a variety of decks, but never at S tier, never at A tier. Like, I just don't think it's going to get there. I'd love to be proven wrong, because his big payoff is the Power Stone. It's a 1 cost, 3 power ongoing. If you've played all 6 stones, Thanos has plus 10 power wherever he is. That means you can get to 18 power, but then you still have to play Thanos. So I just feel like it's going to get really clunky really fast, because 18 power on turn 6 is great and all, but it's just 1 location, and you might not be winning the other ones at this point in time. And you have to play all 6 stones. That's 6 locations, and the stones aren't that great. They have some decent effects, but it's not a lot of power output. And I know there's some like other synergies. I don't have synergy up here, but like there's Killmonger. You can destroy all the stones if you want, and then trigger for death. Like that might be a decent combination. But then there's other counters like Yondu, Cable. Like if people start plucking these cards from you and destroying them, or they just randomly get discarded, right? Moon Knight. Like, oh, you're going to have such a hard time and you're retreating. You're getting out of there. And then what about all the synergy cards like Jubilee even to cheat out Thanos or one of the stones or anything like that? Well, yeah, that'd be great, but you don't know if you're ever going to draw them because your draw is so limited. And then maybe there's Crystal to make sure that you do draw 3 more cards. But I don't know, she's pretty weak, and then you're playing her on 4, and what are you doing after that? I just don't quite know if this ends up working, but I am definitely going to try it a bunch of different ways. I can't wait for this card. He's number 3 for a reason, guys. Not because of strength, but because of just how fun he can be. It's like an Exodia trying to pull together all the cards from your deck and win the game. So I can't wait to try him. Good old Thanos finally making the squad, but he's only number 3. Let's get into number 2. The other big guy, Galactus. So he's also been in the game since the dawn of time in Marvel Snap's history. He is a 6 cost, 3 power on reveal. If this is your only card here, destroy all other locations. This is essentially Marvel Snap's mascot. You see him everywhere. He's on every image and every marketing plan and all that good stuff. And for good reason. He has the best animation. He like drops the earth and then 2 locations disappear. It becomes a completely different game. And that's why I love this card. I don't care if it ends up good or not. I'm fired up about this for so many reasons. 1, it becomes a showdown, a 1-lane showdown. Get your, like a Western gun sling off, right? You're just like seeing, okay, do I have what it takes? I built my deck around this. Hopefully I know what I'm doing, but maybe he's got some really crazy powerful stuff that'll beat me out. So it's just like big, what's going to happen next? What are they going to play every turn after? Oh, and then you're probably wondering, well, what do you mean turns after? He's a 6 cost. The only way this works is if you cheat it out. And the best way to do that is wave. You play Wave on 3, you play Galactus on 4, and then it's a showdown on turn 5 and 6. And not to mention, this destroys the locations, and that actually, if it destroys cards that have been played there, that will trigger for death. She'll get discounted. So that might be an easy 12 power to throw down at the Galactus lane. And then if you can set it up early with Green Goblin, throw Green Goblin over there. That's going to be -3, already taking up a location spot. They only have 3 slots left to play cards. It might get really hairy. And then also Spider-Man. Think about Spider-Man. You web the location on turn 5. GG, bud. If I have more power, you don't have a 6-drop, it's over. Get out of here. Probably not great for cubes, though, because they'll just retreat. A lot of people might just straight up retreat if Galactus comes down, which might not be good for ranking up and getting cubes. Gosh, is this ever fun? It's so good. I can't wait for Galactus. He was so close to number 1 for me because I love the Death Wave deck and he fits right in and his animation and everything. But there's actually one other card in Series 5 that I'm more fired up for. We got number 1, Shuri. And yeah, it might be because I just watched Wakanda Forever like a week ago and loved that movie. But still, she's an epic card and she has an incredible effect that can work in so many kind of different decks. It's essentially Shuri's Lab, which is a new location a few weeks back that we've seen, on a stick. Except it only benefits the card that you next play. But that can get out of hand. We already got Black Panther Arnim Zola combos going out there, but now you can add Shuri to that combination. So you go 4, 5, 6, boom, you win the game. And then I was even thinking She-Hulk. She's a Series 4 card, which I'm going to cover in my next video, that gets discounted for each energy you didn't spend the last turn. So if you can play Shuri on 4, pass on 5, She-Hulk can be a 120 on turn 6. I think that's a nasty combo. And then an even nastier combo is your goblins, because the negative power gets doubled. So now you're not just sending over -8, you're sending over -16. It's like a negatively charged Infinite dropping on their board. It's awful and so funny. And then you get Odin and you cry, but that's okay. I can't wait. This card, I'm just all about the fun factor, but I really do believe Shuri is going to be game changing. She's going to be meta defining, maybe even warranting a nerf. There's just a wide variety of combinations that you can have with this card. And I've only scratched the surface here. And in terms of counter, you have Cosmo, but it's going to be a difficult one to pinpoint where the player is going to be putting Shuri. It's not like Wong that is set up in really obvious, or like even a White Tiger and then an Odin that gets played there. Like those are kind of obvious plays where you throw Cosmo. I feel like Shuri's going to end up at the location that you least expect because she's not a lot of power in her own right. She's setting up for the next card, and then you can't really figure out where that one's going to go. So I think she's very difficult to counter. Very strong, fits in a wide variety of decks, and is going to see a lot of play. Okay, so that was my top 6 priority list based on just what I want to play with, what I'm going to spend my tokens on, and you guys can be completely different. Please let me know in the comments below which card you're going to save your tokens for. I'm really curious. Okay, and now I have put together what I believe is kind of a strength chart, a tier list of sorts, based on how these cards are going to affect the meta. So let's check it out. All right, so here's just like a little meta tier list, little meta snapshot, okay? So I know I'm probably going to get grilled. Like I feel like Thanos is a C tier, and then Super Skrull and Bast come in at the B tier, right? I just think those three overall are going to be a little bit more niche, a little bit harder to pull off effectively, rely on your opponent a little bit, except for Bast. Bast arguably could have been an A tier card, but Galactus I think will actually change and be somewhat competitive in a deck that prioritizes ramp, getting him out early. There's just too much potential when you can destroy 2 other locations. It's nuts. And then Valkyrie will be pretty good. I have a feeling that just that counter and control style is going to be great. And then Shuri at S tier, you already kind of saw it coming based on how I was hyping her up, but she's just going to be so good. So that is my little meta snapshot based on my experiences and just kind of how I'm guessing the meta will turn out. So that's it. That's it for me. The next video is going to be on Series 4 and how I'm going to prioritize collecting those cards. And I might even do Series 3 if it helps anyone, if anyone's interested to see that. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I will catch you next time.